Welcome to this audio press release, powered by IBM. This original production delivers market and sector insights, as well as executive interviews with innovative executives shaping the future in fast-moving industries, and may feature a client partner of IBM, or one of the 75-plus investor-focused brands within IBM's dynamic brand portfolio. As a multifaceted financial news and publishing company, IBM leverages an extensive distribution network, utilizing multiple proprietary corporate communication tools to introduce both public and private companies to a vast and diverse audience of investors, consumers, influencers, journalists, and other targeted segments of the public. IBM may have received compensation to produce this audio content. Please be sure to read IBM's entire disclaimers for full disclosures. This article has been disseminated on behalf of WRAP Technologies Incorporated and may include a paid advertisement. Headline: WRAP Technologies Incorporated builds autonomous platform for modern public safety, national security. The threats confronting law enforcement, military commands, and critical infrastructure operators have crossed a threshold. They can no longer be addressed by adding personnel or deploying faster versions of existing equipment. Commercial drones that once required nation-state budgets can now be purchased off a consumer shelf for under $500 and are transforming the public safety landscape. Criminal organizations deploy the devices against border law enforcement. Correctional facilities report drone-delivered contraband as a routine operational problem. And Langley Air Force Base, among the most secure military installations in the United States, was forced to halt flight operations by repeated drone incursions, for which no adequate non-lethal response protocol existed. The safety response infrastructure the world was built on is no longer adequate for the threat environment it faces. That gap is the defining public safety challenge of this decade. In this context, WRAP Technologies Incorporated has secured something its counter-drone competitors cannot buy: the ability to detect the drones that have learned to go silent. Through a strategic transaction with Israeli AI sensing company Frenel Imaging, WRAP has secured exclusive United States and NATO distribution rights to the physics-based imaging technology that detects threats earlier, orchestrates a response, and acts with proportionate, mission-appropriate action. WRAP has placed that technology at the perception core of WrapShield, its new counter-UAS and autonomous public safety platform. Counter-UAS is the entry point, with room to grow far beyond that. The market behind it spans domestic law enforcement, allied militaries, and critical infrastructure across every NATO nation, set against a defense technology sector where AeroVironment Inc, Kratos Defense and Security Solutions Inc, Ondas Holdings Inc, and RCAT Holdings Inc have drawn investor attention to autonomous and counter-drone systems. The fastest-growing drone threats fly with no radio signal, leaving an entire detection industry blind to the platforms that matter most. WRAP Technologies has secured exclusive US and NATO rights to a physics-based sensing method that reads a target's thermal fingerprint, which cannot be jammed, spoofed, or switched off. Consumer drones now sell for under $500 and can outrun the systems built to stop them, opening a public safety response gap that hiring alone cannot close. Counter-UAS is framed as phase one of a multi-domain market reaching from the ground into maritime, high-altitude, and orbital domains, backed by a certified agency network built to turn one-time hardware sales into recurring revenue. WRAP Technologies has completed a strategic equity investment in Frenel Imaging and secured exclusive distribution rights to the TPI core technology for the United States and all NATO member nations. When human speed becomes the fatal variable, the question in public safety is no longer whether agencies will adopt autonomous response systems. Physics settled that. What remains open is which platforms will own the category and whether the institutions that need them most will have access before the next major incident exposes how wide the gap has grown. The math is unforgiving. Average police response times in the United States run approximately 10 minutes and vary widely by jurisdiction and incident type, while a drone can arrive on scene within 90 seconds. The distance between attacker speed and defender response is structural, and no amount of hiring closes it. The threat is already operational, not theoretical. The US Department of Justice has documented criminal organizations, including drug traffickers, using drones for surveillance, smuggling, and contraband delivery. Research from the National Institute of Justice confirms that contraband deliveries into correctional facilities have become a weekly reality across the country. The NORAD commander has publicly addressed the scale of drone incursions over US military installations. Langley Air Force Base, among the most secure installations in the nation, was forced to halt flight operations during repeated incursions for which no adequate non-lethal response protocol existed. Commercial drones that once required nation-state budgets now sell off a consumer shelf for under $500. This is the baseline environment every agency, installation, and infrastructure operator works within. A new category of infrastructure is forming to meet it, sitting at the intersection of artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, and non-lethal response. It behaves less like a product and more of an operating system, the connective tissue between detection, decision, and response across every domain where threats now operate. Whoever builds it first will shape public safety for a generation. The RF silent blind spot no one else can close. The counter-drone industry rests on one assumption, that drones communicate. Radio frequency detection works by listening for the signals drones broadcast for command, telemetry, and navigation. Against large, openly operated platforms, that approach works. Against the fastest-growing and most dangerous segment of the threat, it is blind. Pre-programmed autonomous drones, fiber-optic guided munitions, and purpose-built attack systems fly with no active RF link. They do not broadcast, so they cannot be jammed, and they are invisible to any system that needs a radio signal to find its target. The same first-person view attack profiles used to destroy armored vehicles in Ukraine operate entirely outside the detection envelope of every RF-dependent system fielded in the United States, and the operators behind the Langley incursions left no detectable RF signature. This is the condition under which agencies, installations, and infrastructure operators work today. Physics-based polarimetric thermal imaging attacks the problem at its root. Instead of listening for a signal, it reads the polarization state of thermal radiation emitted by physical objects. Aircraft composites, metallic payloads, human operators, and natural vegetation each produce a distinctive polarimetric signature as permanent as their molecular composition. That signature cannot be spoofed, jammed, or switched off, and it holds in darkness, fog, smoke, and GPS-denied conditions. Frenel Imaging has built the TPI core platform on a division of focal plane architecture that captures and processes the polarization component of thermal radiation in real time at the edge, without cloud latency or RF dependency, data that conventional cameras are physically blind to. Independent fieldwork, including a 2020 Army Research Laboratory study comparing mid-wave and long-wave thermal polarimetric imaging, supports the physics behind the platform's detection advantage. Through the Frenel transaction, WRAP holds exclusive rights to that capability across the United States and all NATO markets, and has made TPICOR the machine perception layer of WrapShield. For every agency, installation, and infrastructure operator that needs to see the RF silent threat, no competitor appears to hold an equivalent position. WrapShield is a platform, and the moat sits at both ends. The defense technology companies that built the most durable positions over the past decade did not win on better individual sensors. They won on better connective tissue, software-defined platforms that fuse inputs into a coherent operational picture and link detection to response at machine speed. Platforms compound, products commoditize. That distinction is the right lens for WrapShield. WrapShield is built around a detect, orchestrate, respond pipeline, and the thesis embedded in that design is deliberate. In autonomous public safety systems, durable value accrues at the sensor layer and the response layer, not in the orchestration middle, which commoditizes as model capabilities converge. WrapShield is engineered to lock both ends. At the detect layer, TPI Core delivers polarimetric perception no RF-dependent rival can access, protected by exclusive US and NATO rights. At the respond layer, WRAP owns a proprietary non-lethal stack that no competitor can substitute around, including the BolaWrap 150 remote restraint device, the Raptor MX platform in advanced development, the DFR-X drone interdiction system, and the Merlin 1 counter-UAS payload. In the middle, WrapShield stays deliberately open, designed to integrate with existing Defense Department and Homeland Security command and control architectures, such as AID C2 and Sapient, and to run alongside the AI orchestration providers rather than against them. The aim is to be the layer no orchestration platform can replicate from above or replace from below. We believe the polarimetric fingerprint of an object is as immutable as its molecular composition, said Frenel Imaging founder and Chief Technical Officer Sagi Zor Ari. It cannot be spoofed, jammed, or turned off. WRAP is the right partner to scale this capability across the US and NATO. This response layer is not new hardware in search of buyers. WRAP Technologies' non-lethal portfolio, including the BolaWrap 150, WRAP Reality Immersive VR Training, and WRAP Vision body-worn cameras, is already deployed across more than 1,000 agencies in 60 countries. That installed base matters less for the units sold than for what it can become. A certified agency network trained on WRAP systems and renewing multi-year software and training agreements is the bridge from hardware metrics to the recurring higher margin revenue that supports a platform multiple rather than a hardware one. In Q1 2026, the company reported 45% revenue growth, $3.2 million in bookings, and a purchase order from the US Department of Homeland Security, an early federal milestone on the path from commercial non-lethal tools toward a full autonomous public safety architecture. A multi-year strategy executing in public. The Frenel move was not reactive. WRAP identified the RF silent detection problem well before the announcement and spent the interval analyzing the technology, validating it against operational requirements, and securing exclusive rights before the market understood the value. The structure pairs a strategic equity stake in Frenel with an exclusive license across the United States and all NATO markets, and the company has signaled it is the first in a planned sequence of moves to build out the detect, orchestrate, respond architecture. Counter-UAS is WrapShield's first deployment domain, not its ceiling. The polarimetric sensing at its core is not drone-specific. The same TPI core architecture carries across operating environments, from ground systems and maritime platforms to high-altitude fixed-wing and orbital observation, and the exclusive US and NATO license is structured to govern each domain extension that follows. The counter-UAS opportunity alone is sizable. The counter-UAS systems market is projected to grow from roughly $6.6 billion in 2025 to more than $20 billion by 2030, a compound annual growth rate above 25%. The full multi-domain autonomous non-lethal response market is a multiple of that figure. WrapShield is not a product roadmap, said WRAP CEO Scott Cohen. It is a conviction about what this threat requires. A platform-level answer to a platform-level problem, built for operators who cannot wait for the market to catch up. This is WRAP's most important announcement. It will not be our last. The performance advantage compounds. TP-Core's edge is not proprietary hardware alone, but software and AI processing layered on a physics-locked input, which makes the platform scalable, updatable, and harder to match as it accumulates real-world deployment data. 3 verticals, 1 platform, 1 inflection point. America's law enforcement staffing shortfall is not cyclical. It is structural, accelerating, and impossible to solve through hiring alone. Departments nationwide operate well below authorized levels, and no number of additional officers closes a gap measured in seconds against a threat moving at machine speed. Supervised autonomy reframes the problem. When a single officer commands a network of autonomous aerial platforms, ground robots, and sensor arrays, coverage extends across an area that would otherwise require dozens of personnel. Per-incident cost falls, response time compresses from minutes to seconds, and the officer is pulled back from the most dangerous point of contact while keeping command authority. This is a change in response doctrine. Autonomous and non-lethal first response replacing a model built entirely on human presence, not a product upgrade layered onto old procedures. The autonomous public safety market is not one vertical, but three converging procurement ecosystems: domestic law enforcement, US and allied military, and operators securing critical infrastructure, arriving at the same inflection point on the same threat curve, the same workforce economics, and the same mandate to demonstrate non-lethal, proportionate response. Domestic law enforcement is the broadest near-term opportunity. More than 18,000 agencies operate with no deployed civilian counter-UAS tools, despite a drone threat the Justice Department has acknowledged, and escalating use of force litigation has turned the absence of a non-lethal option into a measurable legal liability. The military and homeland security market brings a different scale of demand. The Defense Department is investing well over $1 billion a year in selected counter-UAS procurement and research lines, with Congressional Research Service data showing roughly $1.46 billion authorized for selected fiscal year 2025 counter-UAS programs, and recent reporting showing the Army seeking nearly $1 billion for small counter-drone procurement in FY 2027 alone. That spending is the backdrop against which investors have re-rated names such as Kratos, AeroVironment, ONDS, and RCAT, and WRAP's exclusive US and NATO rights open the same institutional channels across every member nation. Critical infrastructure is the third. Ports, power grids, stadiums, and correctional facilities across NATO face the same threat with the same absence of an authorized civilian response protocol. And the Federal Aviation Administration has proposed rules restricting drone operations over critical infrastructure, a sign of growing federal recognition that the problem is systemic. Through WrapShield and the exclusive TP Core license, Wrap may be the only public company positioned to serve all three verticals with a detection architecture aimed at the threats that matter most. Exclusive technology rights, a deployment footprint across more than 60 countries, deep agency and procurement relationships, and an expanding autonomous systems roadmap are the pieces it is assembling into the connective tissue the next decade of public safety will require. Defense innovation accelerates rapidly. Governments and defense organizations around the world continue to prioritize investments in technologies that strengthen national security, protect critical infrastructure, and address rapidly evolving aerial threats. Recent developments across the sector highlight growing demand for advanced autonomous systems, counter-drone capabilities, and scalable manufacturing, reflecting a broader effort to modernize defense readiness while enhancing the speed, flexibility, and effectiveness of public safety operations. AeroVironment Inc. has been awarded a 3-year, $500 million indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract in support of Joint Interagency Task Force 401's Domestic Shield program. Under this sole source contract, AeroVironment will provide a range of counter-unmanned aircraft systems and counter-small unmanned aircraft systems capabilities for use by the United States Department of War for force protection, base defense, and counter-UAS operations in support of the Domestic Shield program. Kratos Defense and Security Solutions Incorporated announced a major expansion of its Oklahoma City manufacturing campus. The expansion will include the addition of more than 100,000 square feet of manufacturing and production space. The expansion supports increasing customer demand for the company's family of high-performance, affordable, jet-powered drone systems, including the Valkyrie collaborative combat aircraft, the Firejet Mighty Hornet 4, and others. Ondas Incorporated is reporting a collaboration between its subsidiary, Centrix, a leader in counter-drone technology based on Cyber-over-RF, and Lockheed Martin. Under the collaboration, Centrix Cyber-over-RF technology will be integrated into Sanctum, Lockheed Martin's next-generation CUAS solution to protect military forces, homeland security, and critical assets against evolving unmanned aerial threats. Sanctum tackles complex drone threats, including coordinated swarms and rapidly evolving UAS tactics. It combines advanced artificial intelligence, cloud-enabled data fusion, and a modular defense architecture to detect, track, analyze, and neutralize aerial threats in real time. RCAT Holdings Inc. has unveiled Hellcat, a dual-use small, unmanned aircraft system built on the proven Black Widow platform and designed for rapidly evolving operational environments. RCAT launched Hellcat in conjunction with Eurosatory 2026, where defense leaders, government buyers, and industry partners from across Europe and allied nations convened to evaluate current and future capabilities with a focus on small UAS, contested environment operations, and interoperable systems. Together, these milestones underscore a broader transformation in the government and public safety landscape as advanced technologies become increasingly central to mission success. As autonomous platforms, artificial intelligence, and next-generation defense systems continue to mature, organizations are expanding their capabilities to respond more effectively to emerging threats while improving resilience, situational awareness, and operational readiness. For more information, visit Wrap Technologies. This audio press release is an original content production powered by IBN, a multifaceted financial news and publishing company that delivers next-generation corporate communication solutions utilizing proprietary corporate communication tools such as news aggregation, syndication, social communication, and brand awareness techniques, among others. IBN introduces both public and private companies to diverse audiences to enhance reach and recognition. IBN may receive compensation for services and solutions provided to its client partners. The owners, officers, and directors of IBN, or any of its financial analysts mentioned in this production, do not hold positions in and do not intend to trade the securities of any IBN client partners' companies. This production is not an offer or recommendation to buy or sell any securities that may be mentioned in this production. The information in this broadcast is presented solely for informative purposes and is not intended to be, or should it be construed as investment advice. As in all investments, investment in the featured companies carries inherent investment risk. Listeners should review the company thoroughly with registered investment advisor or registered stockbroker. This production by IBN is not purported to be a complete study of the featured company or other companies mentioned. Information used in statements of fact have been obtained from featured companies and other sources, but not verified nor guaranteed by IBN as to completeness and accuracy. Such information is subject to change without notice. Please read IBN's entire disclaimers and disclosures at IBN AI. Thank you again for listening to this audio press release powered by IBN.